Good morning, everyone. This is Watsuna speaking. Thanks for dialing in on time. Let's wait another 5 minutes for the remaining guests to dial in, yeah? Thanks. Okay, I see most of the guests are in already. Okay, very good morning, everyone, and welcome to a corporate briefing by SCGM. Kenanga is very pleased to be organizing this event with Bursa Malaysia, and we're delighted to bring to you this morning SCGM's chairman, Datuk Sri Lee Hock Seng, and also the Director of Investor Relations, Mr. David Cheng. To make this session more engaging, let me suggest to you to post your questions, if you have any, onto the chat box, or if you prefer to speak, then could you unmute the hand icon on the screen so that we can, we can unmute you. So click on the hand icon on the screen so we can unmute you if you wish to speak. Let us now welcome both Datuk Sri and David to begin their briefing. Over to you, Datuk and David.
Where your mask where?
Hi, I'm here. Okay. I will let Dato.
Thank you for inviting us. I will let Dr. Sri Lee Hock Seng to say a few words before we start the presentation. Over to you.
Over to you, Dato.
Okay. Very good morning to everyone. I, Dato Sri Lee Hock Seng, on behalf of SCGM, would like to say thanks to you, everyone, attend this team briefing. First, I would like to say thanks to Bursa, Ms. Bonnet, and Kenanga, Mr. Cole, give us this opportunity to share this ESG briefing with everyone. Lee Sun Seng has been in operation 37 years, but last year we have added a new line, which is PPE, 3-layer medical surgical mask, which is BTF 99% above. Also have been approved by field certificate issuing body. Now we have total 6 fully automatic lines on medical surgical masks. Our sales are mostly local and export. Recently, supermarket NTUC from Singapore just have a new order coming in on 80,000 boxes. At the same time, I would like to say thanks to all my loyalty customers who are supporting us all the way. And we success listing on Bursa since February 2008. Now about ESG, this part I would like to let Mr. David Cheng to share more with you. At the same time, hoping all the VIP guests and fund manager and others wishing stay safe and stay at home. Thank you.
Okay. Are you all able to see my screen? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Screen?
Yeah. Can you show your slides, please?
Can you see my slides?
No, it's not on yet.
It's not on. Just give me a minute.
Yeah.
Is it on right now?
Yeah. Just missed it. Yes, we do see it now.
Okay, good. All right, thank you, everybody. Good morning, Mr. Cole, and good morning, Ms. Bonnie from Bursa. Thanks for inviting us to to present our corporate presentation on ESG, SCGM ESG in practice. All right. So this is going to be the sections that we're going to talk about today. We are going to talk about a very simple executive summary about our industry, our company details, our business in depth, our financial analysis, and SCGM ESG in practice. Well, SCGM is one of the largest thermoforming company in Malaysia. We aim to be the largest company in Southeast Asia. SCGM is actually a vertically integrated manufacturing capability from sheet extrusion all the way down to distribution. We recently moved to a new plant somewhere in 2019, and at the new plant we actually boast we have about 15 extrusion machines, high-speed forming machines of 34, semi-auto 23, and of course we have the auto cup forming machine with 3 units. And we have a face mask machine of 6 units. Now, if you look at our manufacturing facility, we have a few blocks here. Block A is actually our office block. Block B, which is our production. Block C is our warehouse. Block D, we have 2 blocks of hostel, and Block E is actually our canteen. Our manufacturing process, as I mentioned earlier, is actually a one-stop, it's a vertically integrated plant. Therefore, we produce our own sheets, and we have the thermoforming and cutting and packing, and then of course we have the storage, and then we do the delivery. I'm going to show you a slide video about how the machine looks, our factory looks like. Okay, so let us move next to the industry overview. Now, for industry overview, well, the Malaysian packaging industry has been growing year after year, and the rigid packaging sales in millions of units are almost 3.9 billion units expected to be the year 2024 as forecasted. And if you look at the global food thermoforming packaging, it actually, from the year of 2019 right up to the year of 2027, we expect a compounded annual growth rate of 6%, which will be able to generate $37.3 billion. And if you look at in the Malaysian context industry, you will see that Malaysia is actually the highest consumer plastic packaging among developing neighbors. And Malaysia actually consumes 6.8 kg annual per capita plastic packaging consumption. These figures are actually obtained from WWF and Transparency Market Research. And the demand for rigid plastic packaging for Malaysia actually outpaced the global average of 2.5%. Malaysia has a compounded annual growth of about 3.7%. Now, if you look at the Malaysian packaging industry as a whole, we have 3 types of packaging: flexible packaging, rigid bottle packaging, and rigid non-bottle packaging. So SCGM falls under the rigid non-bottle packaging. And of course, we know that some of the raw materials for rigid flexible packaging is like HDPE and PP. For rigid bottle packaging is PET, PVC, PP, and PS. As well, for non-rigid bottle packaging is like PS, PP, PET, and PVC. And the primary uses for flexible packaging, we all know that is mainly from companies like from LSLP, Dongguan, Taipochi, Scientech, where they actually produce food packaging, paper bags, and FMCG packaging. Rigid bottle packaging, which is very like Dynaplast, which actually they produce bottle packaging. And of course, under the non-bottle packaging, we have SCGM Berhad, Hero, Asiatic, Multiplex, and others. Our landscape, well, we are one of the largest rigid non-bottle packaging in Malaysia, and we have substantial revenues. We have a 210 million based on the FY 2020. And if you look at the net income margin of several of the companies, SCGM actually posts among the highest of 8.2% margin. Last year, we actually generated double-digit net margin. And if you look at, so SCGM is competitively, I would say, has a better margin compared to the other competitors. Company details. SCGM Berhad has been in line for almost 37 years, been in business for almost 37 years, and the compounded annual growth rate from FY 2005 to FY 2020, we are talking about 12.6%. From 1984 up to the year 2006, SCGM was mainly the formative years. And from 2008 to 2018, that's where the rapid growth started. And 2019 onwards, SCGM since has relocated to a new plant, and that's where the new beginnings will start. So as you can see that during the last 37 years, the rapid growth was due to the production of hygienic PP disposable cup, tamper-proof evidence, and of course, degradable plastics for the SEA Games. If you look at our overview of business segment, we have 4 different segments: food and beverage, plastic packaging, extrusion, medical, electronic, and others, and of course the personal protective equipment, which is a face shield and of course a face mask. Now, if you look at the food and beverage plastic packaging, the CAGR growth is about 14.7%. From FY16 to FY20, we increased by almost 14%. And then, of course, for the extrusion as well, from FY16 to FY 2020, we are looking at about 8.4%. And of course, the medical side, there's a dip from FY16 to 9.5 million. It's because during the SARS, we were able to sell our temperature cover. But today, with the advancement of technology or handheld medical temperature, TempScan cover is no longer relevant. And of course, we move on into our PPE, which we actually generated 4.7 million revenue for FY 2020. Key senior management, the founding members and the substantial shareholders of SCGM, you can see is Datuk Sri Lee Hock Seng, Datuk Sri Lee Hock Chai, Datuk Sri Lee Hock Guan, Lee Hock Meng. Professional managers will be Ng Chai Huat, the CFO, and of course myself. This is the reporting structure, right? Datuk Sri Lee Hock Chai is actually the managing director and the co-founder. Basically, he manages the administrative, human resource, info technology, molding, and sales and marketing. Datuk Sri Lee Hock Guan basically handles the production, QA, engineering, and maintenance. And Dr. Lee Hock Meng is handling the logistics. These are some of the awards that we won and some of the certifications. I'm not going to dive into detail on this. All right, as you can see, we have most of the certifications from food safety to ISOs and of course hazard. And we are also a member of the FTSE for Good Index. Section 4, we'll run into our in-depth of our business analysis. And we would like to announce that we have actually procured an automated cup lid production machine, which actually reduces the manpower from 8 manpower to 2 manpower. The expected arrival date is July 2021. You can have a look at the machine. I don't know. Don't bother. Are you still able to see my screen?
No,
Sorry.
we're not able to.
Sorry?
We're
Can you
unable
see
to
my...
see your screen now. We can't see your screen.
Oh, sorry, just a minute then. I don't know what's wrong. Can you see my screen now?
Yep, we can.
Can you see my screen now? Yeah.
Yeah, we can see your screen.
Okay. Just now, the earlier machine you saw was, we used to have several men, we usually have about 8 manpower to handle that sort of operation. But with the arrival of this machine, we basically reduced our manpower by almost 60 to 70%. And that would actually help us in our margins as well. Now, if you look at the next machine, which is a cutting and packing machine, which we have usually procured from China. The arrival is somewhere in August. And you can see that these machines will actually help us to reduce our manpower as well. So, and of course, another thing that we invested on recently was the automatic stretch film mainly for our export market. And this has also reduced our manpower from 3 manpower to 0 manpower. So SCGM Berhad is actually one of the largest food and beverage plastic thermoforming packaging company in Malaysia. We have almost 600 different standard products. And of course, we have our in-house design capability, which we're able to produce in-house molds and in-house designs. And customized margins, customized packaging products always demand a higher margin. Now, if you look at our food and contribution, over the years, the F&B contributed an average about 80% of the total revenue from the food and beverage sectors. And some of the customers, the domestic customers you see are Mondelez, Kraft, Nestle, Lee Biscuits. And the next screen you can also see there are more different types of customers. And of course, our flagship in-house brand is actually called Benson. We have a lot of diverse applications, and our customized packaging products contribute about 22% out of the total revenue. And over here, all right, we also review, we do a lot of customized packaging segment for our customers as well. These are some of the products that we produce. If you look at the standard products, those are the lunch boxes and plates, the hygienic cups. Customized products are like the tempered evident containers, colored clamshells, sushi trays, the egg trays, the fruit and vegetable trays, and so on. These are some of the products that are actually being sold in the market. If you look at some of the lunch boxes, the degradable lunch box, the cups, and so on. Okay, our next segment is actually extrusion. We are able to produce several types of materials like APAT, PETG, GAT, PP, HIPS, and extrusion revenue contribute about 27.3% out of the total revenue. Sorry, about 13% out of the total revenue. All right. Electronics, medical, and others. It's a very small contribution, and we're only talking about 5% of the total revenue. We don't really do a lot of electronics trays and so on because our focus is more on the F&B sector. Protective equipments, we have 6 machines right now for face masks, and for FY20, we contributed about 4.7 million in revenue. For the first half of this year, our revenue is already 2.5 million. We do expect the revenue to increase further. Right? Financial highlights. Revenue segmentation, F&B for the third quarter of 2021 is 52 million, PPE is 0.8, and exclusion 6.5 million. So we have a total revenue of 62.6 million. As compared to the previous quarter, it's actually a growth of more than 12 million, about 21.2%. For segmentation of markets, our export markets is about 65%, and our local market is about 65%, and our export market is about 35%. We will see continuous growth in the local market, and with these recent MCOs and so on, we do expect our sales to increase as well. Performance trends in revenue. Revenue-wise, for the first 9 months of this year, financial year 2021, we already have a 12.4% growth of 180 million. And on a quarterly basis, our revenue growth is about 21.1 million. EBITDA-wise, first 9 months of this year, we have increased 64.5%. And for the 3 months period, is about 44.8%. Profit trend, well, first 9 months, our profit was about 6.2% for the year 2020, but for the financial year of 2021, first 9 months, our profit PBT has actually increased to 27.3 million, which translates to about 15.1%. That's an increase of 173.1%. And of course, for the quarterly, on the quarter-to-quarter basis, for the financial year 2020, our PBT was only 3.6 million, whereas for the quarter of 2021, our revenue PBT has increased to 7.9 million, and that translates to about an increase of 117.7%. Profit after tax, same for first 9 months. Our profit after tax was 10.6 million. At the present moment, our profit after tax for the financial year of 2021, first 9 months, is 26%, and that is an increase of 150%. Our free cash flow, as compared to the preceding first 9 months of 2020, is 16.6 million, whereas right now we have 39.1 million. Balance sheet, our gearing has gone down from 0.53 to 0.34. We do expect the gearing to further reduce in view of the low interest rate regime. SCGM has a dividend policy of 40%. Therefore, as you can see on the slides, for the first 9 months of this year, we have already made a payout of 10.4 million, representing 40% of our earnings. Okay, let's come into section 6, SCGM ESG in practice. This is going to be a pretty long slides, so I hope you guys bear with it. SCGM started its sustainability practice or engaged into sustainability practice in somewhere in 2018. And we actually developed this sustainability performance index. We call it SASP. And we decided to adopt the 3 pillars as people, planet, and prosperity. So the objective of SASP was to evaluate how far we can go with ESG. And right now, we can say that we actually are proud to report that we are actually a member of the FTSE4Good Index since 2019. Now, what is ESG? Well, ESG, we all know, is environment, social, and governance. And what is our commitment towards sustainable practice? We aim to be a sustainable plastic packaging company, incorporating the SDG goals. We have already identified areas that we need to reduce our carbon emission, improve our recycling, and maximize the use of internal waste. We also will educate the public on how to be a responsible plastic packaging user. For information, for FY 2020, SCGM has spent 0.385% of the revenue to fulfill its health, safety, and environment goals, equivalent to a total of 808,500 ringgit. We are planning to increase this to 0.5%, and of course, identifying certain KPIs and targeted approach, namely on Scope 1, Scope 2, as well as to improve certain ESGs for our human rights as well. So one of the practice that we have done was we actually, to fulfill the women diversity on board, SCGM is proud to announce that today our women diversity on board is 42.8%. You can see the 3 ladies on the screen. Those are the 3 ADs that were appointed since 2019. And the ESG in practice, for board diversity, we fulfill the GRI of 308-1, 405-1, and 405-2. In the recent Section 17A, SCGM actually understands the importance and how it will affect SCGM's reputation. Therefore, SCGM actually took initiative by enhancing its awareness throughout the organization and train all its employees yearly. For this year, every employee will be required to undergo a short competency exam on ABAC in language of their choice, whether it's Myanmar, Vietnamese, Bangladesh, Nepal, Bahasa, English, or Chinese. As you can see on the screen here, we have put notices and signboards at almost all the locations within the factory to inform that SCGM actually has a zero tolerance on corruption. And this actually fulfills the GRI reporting standards on 205-1 and 205-2. Another one that what we did last year, and was the first time that we actually did it, was that to understand our supply, labor, and environment audit. So we did an internal assessment last year. We actually, what we did was we did an audit on factories from Malaysia, Taiwan, and China. And out of the total 19 factories, 90% actually conform or met our requirements on the submitting guidelines. Now, what we actually asked them was on things like social management system, workers' involvement, freedom of association, no discrimination, fair remuneration, decent working hours, no child labor, special protection for young workers, no precarious employment, bonded labor, and things like that. So, and for this year, we are going to go even deeper. We are going to expand our suppliers base to include more suppliers so that we evaluate how we do business with them. If they say that they falls under the category of C, D, and E. And this actually complies with the GRI of 308-1, 414-2, and 414-2. A lot of the sustainability data can be actually obtained from our website as well. On human rights, SCGM Berhad has actually gone way above the standards by building its own hostel. So in 2018 and 2019, we actually invested 8 million ringgit to upgrade the staff quarters. As you can see, some of these are the quarters that has been provided for the staff: the badminton courts, fire-rated doors, modern cafeterias, workers with concrete cupboards. And this actually fulfills the SDG goals of decent work, decent place to work, and productive employment, and providing clean water, electricity, and so on. And this was supposed to be a 2 years or 3 years event per year. It was supposed to be in 2020, but since the 2020 was the pandemic, so we actually put on hold the trips. But we can show you that we actually did a lot of company trips for all our employees. Right. As complied with, we also give a lot of long service term awards, productivity awards, and so on to all our employees as well. Now, come on to the next and the most important part of the presentation today. Will SCGM be the next styrofoam story? Are we going to be another sunset story? What are the risks that we have identified, and what are the risks that we actually foresee moving forward in the future? We talk about the obsolescence risk, and of course, we talk about the next risk is the environmental regulations. We all know that single-use plastic is harmful to the environment. The whole world is on war against plastic with us. Ocean plastics, a planetary crisis. Kenya imposes the world's toughest law against plastic bags. France to become the first country to ban plastic plates and cutleries. And of course, we are in the middle of all this. So even United Nations is also developing framework against plastics. And in the most recent Unified, they call it United Nations Environment Assembly, they are looking into understanding and developing the global framework on plastics. And what is Unified? Should SCGM be concerned about Unified? Yes, because Unified is all about marine litter and microplastics. So in 2007, United Nations is developing framework to combat marine plastic litter and microplastics from all sources. So this is something that we need to look out for, because this is something which is pretty impactful on us as well. So how are we addressing the microplastics, and how are we addressing the war on plastics? SCGM has actually developed something known as a 4R. We have recycle, reuse, reduce, and of course, return to earth. And how are we doing that? And we have successfully done that in the year 2018, which I'll show you later in the next slide. The strategies in which we can transform the plastics, we can reuse the plastics, we can actually recycle and improve economics and quality of the plastics, and of course, we can actually redesign the plastics. This is something that we'll work on, and SCGM is proud to announce that we have come up with something that we can actually say that we have actually redesigned and innovate plastics into something that can be used. So the solution here, this is a case study on the disposable plastic bag, where you can see that the current solution is to reuse the bag. Even though you have a plastic bag, you use it as a garbage bag, and you cannot be just keep on using the same plastic bag again and again. At the end of the day, you still go back to the landfill. So our solution is to make those bags degradable or bioavailable. And this is something that what SCGM has been working on since 2009 or so. So the whole world is all out on war on plastics with us. So what do we do? What should we do? Is it a threat or is it an opportunity? Do nothing. Well, if you do nothing, no decision is also a decision, right? So what has SCGM done? And we have been working on alternatives since 2009, and the next couple of slides will actually show you what SCGM has done. Now, if you look at this video, this is one of the biodegradable plastics from NatureWorks, and we have been working with them since 2009, and of course, we have successfully produced products made from this raw material.
David, the video keeps freezing and we can't hear any audio from the video.
Sorry?
The video kept freezing and we couldn't hear any audio. If there was meant to be any audio,
Yeah, there is an audio actually.
we couldn't hear any.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, and the video kept freezing as well.
Oh, okay. I'm not sure what's wrong. Just give me a minute, please.
Sure.
Am I still sharing my screen?
Yep.
Okay, just give me a minute, please. Can you all hear now better? Can you all hear it?
Still can't hear the video's audio.
Sorry?
Still cannot hear the audio that's coming from the video.
Oh, I think I know why. I need to adjust, just give me a minute. I need to adjust the, I hope you can hear now. Just give me a minute, please. Can you hear now?
No.
Can you hear now?
No.
I'm not sure what's wrong.
David, are we allowed to? Are you able to share the slides with us? And
Yeah, I've really
are
done.
we? Oh, okay,
I've
yeah.
really shared the
But-
slides already. I'm just going to continue. I mean, I've just a few more slides to finish.
Yeah, so perhaps the participants could watch the video from the PowerPoint themselves.
Yeah, I have done.
Yes,
I've
yeah.
done sharing the slides already.
Okay.
I'm just going to run off. I guess another few more slides to go, and we can. I'm almost done already.
Okay, yeah, no rush. Thanks.
Okay. Okay. Based on the video earlier, basically, if you look at the video, starch or potato or cornstarch can actually be used to create products like what similar to ours. And SCGM actually has been working with Green Hope to come up with something. So we believe in these three principles: keep products and materials in use. We cannot keep on wasting resources. Products and materials must be kept in economy. We have to design products and components so they can be reused, repaired, and remanufactured. But making things last forever is not the only solution. So when it comes to food products like food and all packaging, we have to get the materials back so they won't end up in the landfill. So that's what we have been doing over the last 3 years or so. We generate natural resources. What if we can not only protect but actively improve the environment? All right, everything is food for something else. A leaf that falls from a tree feeds the forest. Instead of simply trying to do less harm, we should aim to do good. By retaining valuable nutrients to the soil and other ecosystem, we can actually enhance our natural resources. Design out waste and pollution is something that we can actually design our products that actually can reduce pollution. So, and this is something that we can actually work on. For example, waste and pollutions are not accidents, but the consequences of decisions made at the design stage, where around 80% of the environmental impacts are determined. So by changing our mindset to view waste as a design flaw and harnessing new materials and technologies, we can ensure that the waste and pollution are not created in the first place. We are proud to say that SCGM Berhad has managed and successfully recycle 100% of our waste back into our production. So, in view of the experiment that we have done in 2017, SCGM actually developed the first degradable plastic trays using Oxium. It's a patented technology from Green Hope by the name of the patent holder is Sujanto Tangio. So with this technology, we are able to degrade our trays within 5 years instead of 500 years. And we have actually made a positive impact by supplying these trays to the participants and to the athletes for the Kuala Lumpur SEA Games. We managed to get our CRIM certification from Eco-Label as well. All right. And the next question here is, are we sustainable? Despite the war on plastics, the war on earth, the war on everything else, are we sustainable? To answer, yes, SCGM is sustainable for a foreseeable future. Why? Because currently we are developing with University of Nottingham to develop several patentable solutions to address microplastics, and we repurpose the plastic waste in the country. Our existing infrastructure can be converted to biodegradable and compostable raw materials without heavy capex. We will further adapt the use of technology, as we shown earlier just now, by enhancing and further develop our workforce skills program by reducing labor. We will explore the use of alternative energy, since energy represents 10% of our cost of goods. And of course, we will look at large silo tanks to further reduce dependency on singular intake, therefore be able to reduce energy and increase our output as well. Forward thinking, what have we done, what are we going to do, and how are we addressing human rights, diversity, and environment? If you look at our diversity in key management and board, we have started appointing women on board at the non-executive board level, and that was in 2019. Currently at the board level, our process has started in April 2021, and we expect to complete by April 2023. So what would be the diversity? SCGM has a policy to have a minimum target of at least 40% women on executive board level. Therefore, we are actually moving into the second stage of transition and retirement of existing board members over 3 years period from 2021 to 2023. Labour and human rights. We will subscribe to the United Nations Global Impact. We will further improve by protecting the rights of all domestic and foreign workers working in SCGM Berhad. We will try to set standards above, beyond, and industry peers to promote a healthy culture. And SCGM has today started intensifying all trainings to staff regardless of nationality. We are trying to improve the competency gap, automation process, IoT, and so on. Environment challenges. We will try to reduce energy by exploring alternative energies such as solar panels, biogas, biomass, and so on. But this is something that currently is still technologically challenged. And of course, as the technology improve in the coming years, we will take note of that. And of course, we also need to have a policy on scope 1 and to further use of technology to reduce dependency of scope 1. Scope 1 is basically your petrol and diesel. Then the next challenge we need to work with is climate change, and of course the Unify, which is going to be a global global framework on plastics. So we are actually exploring with Alan MacArthur Foundation to further explore the new plastic economy and how can this plastic economy be an opportunity for SCGM Berhad. We are trying to participate in world events to understand the impending regulations and how it affects us. We also try to further understand how and what type of opportunities can be derived from this new plastic economy. So with that, I would like to say thank you. And lastly, the new plastic economy is something that SCGM will look forward to because it helps us to rethink the future of plastics, and not all plastics are evil. With that, I thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, David and Dato. Thanks, David, for the very comprehensive presentation, especially on aspects of ESG management. We are very delighted to hear the extensive work that you've done to address the ESG concerns of many of the investors. Perhaps now is the time for us to open the floor to anybody who wants to ask questions or pose questions. We've already got a first question on the box already. David, would you like to maybe address it? It's actually, can you read the questions or do you want me to?
No, I can't read the question.
Okay, this comes from Amelia T. Maybe some of these have been addressed by you, but perhaps you may want to re-emphasize what you just said. She's asking, are the company's plastic products recyclable? And how has the company integrated sustainability considerations into the manufacturing process? Perhaps maybe you want to re-emphasize some of the things you've said.
Well, yes, all our products are actually 100% recyclable. And we have actually started recycling a lot of our feedstocks, our waste, and so on into our manufacturing process. We are proud to say that we have actually recycled 100% of our waste into our manufacturing process. But sadly to say that the recyclable from the consumer side currently is still not achievable. That's the reason why we are working with New Zealand Nottingham to develop how to recycle external waste products that have been sold outside, and how are we going to recycle the external waste so that those wastes will not go to the landfill. On top of that, currently all our products have at least a minimum of 50% recycled content in all our packagings from our recycled waste. Let's hope that answered the question.
Okay, thanks, David. Yeah, I'm just wondering, one question for me is that you guys have done a lot of work, even R&D, to produce products that are ecologically sound, biodegradable plastics and so forth. But despite all the hard work that you put in producing these new products, is there more to do in terms of, perhaps I was just wondering whether a lot needs to be done in terms of marketing and also educating the specific target markets you're trying to reach. For example, I saw one of the slides that France is going to ban any form of plastic cutlery, so plates, in a few years. I specifically for these kind of buyers who have high standards of environmental protection, is what you've done enough to reach those countries, for example? Or is there more that needs to be done?
Of course, the important point here is actually educating on how plastic can be not be an evil. For example, when France decides to ban cutleries and plastics wares and so on, but little did they realize that at their supermarket shelf, a lot of them actually uses plastics. Everybody has admitted that plastic is something that you cannot what do you call that, just be overnight and just be kick off of the kind or just be obsolete. Reason being is because plastic actually maintains a lot of our grocery products, poultry products, packaging products, and so on, and is one of the most inexpensive way of doing it. However, there are new ways of looking into how plastic, as I mentioned earlier in my slide, a new plastic economy. How can we actually tap on this new plastic economy to further improve our plastic awareness in the market? For example, SCGM has actually went to more than 200 schools, educating the young children about recycle, reuse, the 3R system and the 4R system. Just to share an example with you, all of you here. When I was in KL, at I won't name the school in KL, and we asked the students to actually throw the rubbish according to whether it's organic, electric, or the different color bins. So sad to say that the urban schools in KL, one of the students came and said, "My father is paying taxes. Why should I be bothered?" All right. But when we went to a very, very rural school in Kedah, which is almost near the Thailand border, and we did a simple experiment where we asked the students to throw the different waste into the different bins, the colored bins, and they got them 100% correct. And we asked them, "How do you know which rubbish to throw into which bin?" We asked a young girl, and her reply was that, well, because we live in an environment. Nature is our environment. I was very surprised to hear that sort of response from her. But when you go to the urban center, most of them got it wrong. You see? So it's all about education and awareness. And for example, like our trays today can even be reused, repurposed for other things. But sadly, in my slide, I've shown you that Malaysia has the highest consumption of plastic annual per capita, 16.8 kg. That's a lot for a normal user, because in Malaysia, we have the habit of take-away culture. I mean, I guess we have the blessing of both. We have the blessing of both worlds. I mean, we have the most diverse food in the world, but yet we take away almost all our food away. We tap out all our food. So SCGM will look into new ways on how to repurpose our business by embracing the threat, the war on plastic. And of course, we have to look into new technologies that's coming on. We started toying around with technology like NatureWorks, EcoPlus for the last 5-6 years ago. We were the very first company in Malaysia to produce biodegradable plastic plates and cups in the year 2009. Yeah, somewhere there. I couldn't remember, but it was a failure. The project was a complete failure. And right now, the demand for such trays has picked up, mainly from overseas. So we have ourselves are preparing for those to adventure into those areas as well. Okay, next.
Okay, thank you, David, for addressing those.
Hi, David. Thanks for the presentation. Jim here.
Hi.
Just a follow-up question on what you've just talked about in terms of demand for your biodegradable plastics from overseas. So mainly from which markets are you seeing the demand for these biodegradable products? And how is the demand like locally?
Well, for overseas market, the biodegradable products are slowly picking up, but because due to the unavailability of raw materials, because Nature Work, for example, has a plant in Thailand, and they have a very fixed amount of raw materials that can be sold to anybody. So far, the biodegradable market comes mainly from the developed countries like the US, because Nature Work is actually based in US anyway. And for Malaysia-wise, we are only supplying to the higher-end customers, higher-end retailers or customers who wants to sell biodegradable products. You need to understand that biodegradable products, the price is at least 300% more expensive than the normal plastic. But we have been working with EcoPlus and trying to look into an alternative compared to NatureWorks. So so far, EcoPlus has not really been successful because that product is mainly geared towards more to carrier bags and plastic bags, not so much on packaging trays. And we believe with the new partnership that we're going to work on with New Zealand Nottingham, I believe we can come up with some raw materials that's non-polymer. So we still have our work cut out for us.
So just to make sure I understand this process of making your products recyclable. So this starts with the raw materials part, right? Like you would put in a different mix of, are they still called resins? And would these resins then be enhanced or a new type of resin that is recyclable?
Okay. If you look at the biodegradable or the compostable raw materials that you saw in both the earlier videos, they are called resins, but they are not polymer. Basically, like EcoPlus is from cornstarch, from starch. Angel is also from corn. If you look at resins in particular is more from polymer, like petrochemical companies like Lotte and so on. So resins that comes from petrochemical companies are actually non-environment friendly, because it's already, I mean, that's the way it is. All right. So when we want to explore on biodegradable, we have to look something that is from non-petrochemical companies, like from the nature, from corn, from biomass, even from what do you call that? I'm not sure what's the name called. The palm oil. Once you shred the palm oil, the leaves, the fresh empty branch or something, the weeds from the palm oil, we can actually use that. We've seen some experiments being done, but so far it's still not been widely commercially been explored.
I see. So do you guys see yourselves, or rather, in how many years do you see yourselves using let's just call these alternative non-petrochemical resins. Yeah, in how many years do you see yourselves using that?
We have already started our process about 5 years ago, but we stopped because there's no demand. The market has no demand. So if there's a need to switch over, we can do so without, as I mentioned, without any heavy capex. We can just move and switch it over pretty fast. Because we have already experimented, we have tried out, it's pretty successful. The only thing that we have not really been successful is to commercialize the product, because after all, price is still the problem here in Malaysia. Oh, yeah. But overseas wise, yes, they can accept because the pricing is, I mean, for them it's acceptable.
Okay, so you have the formula, you know what type of alternative resins you need to use, but you're not selling as many, I guess, products that are made out of cornstarch because of the demand or the lack thereof. Okay.
Yes, that's right.
So is there anything being done locally, which is making up a sizable portion of your revenue? Is there anything done locally to encourage customers to take on these more environmentally friendly packaging?
Oh, yes, yes. We started off in 2017 where we actually became the sponsor, the silver sponsor for the SEA Games. And that's where we started promoting our first degradable products to the athletes and so on. So since then, we have started producing these degradable lunch boxes, trays, and cups to the masses. But it did not account much because the price is slightly higher, about 5% or 10% higher than the normal price. And currently, we are still producing based on demand. And I'm proud to say that our Indonesian counterpart is 100% using the degradable products because the technology actually comes from Indonesia. So we have successfully secured several customers from Indonesia to supply those degradable products, and it's still going on. But it's not a very sizable of a revenue. Probably I would say it's maybe like 0.5%.
I see. Okay. Thank you. Just to remind the participants on this call, if you have any questions, feel free to click on the raise your hand button and then I will unmute you.
Yes, hi David.
Yes, hi.
Yeah, this is Shankar from Kenanga.
Hi.
So I do have a few questions to ask you. The first thing, you did explain that you're having a sustainable performance index, right? SUSP, which is known as.
Yes.
So would you mind sharing that how you guys draft it and how would you be using it to assess your future performance?
Well, when we started SUSP in 2017, to be honest with you, we have no idea what we were doing. All right. It was something that, the management decided, say that, okay, let's work out something, let's plan something. And so what we did was we set up a task force. We set up the corporate governance. We set up the team committee. We set up the DSR. We set up the DSR is the what they call that, Department Sustainability Reporting. So we set up that, and we have a 3 months, every quarter we have a discussion on how we should do it. So we decided that some of the areas, if we would like to explore our products into the European market as well as to the North American market, we knew that we need to comply with a lot of things. And most notably, we were not ready at that time. But we know that in UK, they have already got acts like modern slavery, and we know in US, it's a matter of time. They will come hard on companies like us on bonded labors and things like that. So what we did was we decided to develop the program, and we decided to work on things like identify the 3 main pillars, which is people, environment, as well as prosperity. So for people-wise, we know that we have to start working on putting on the trainings, putting on the what do you call that, improving the workers' accommodation, because at that time our workers' accommodation was mostly being scattered all over the whole town. So we didn't really focus on that as well. Now, what happened when we wanted to build our new construction? We decided to implement everything in the one go. So that's what we did. And then when it comes to other things like electricity and so on, and managing our waste, our oil rags, our petrols. So we started coming up with templates, way of recording, because all these things was never been done before. We really have not really, I mean, we couldn't bother to do it at that point in time. Then when we have a framework, so we start working on the framework, and that's when we start looking into, and we found that it's very, very useful. We found that there was a lot of information that could be derived from this, and how we could further improve, and that actually improved our bottom line as well. So that's how we started. And right now, if you've seen in our the last 2-3 years report, we have been going on, and I think this year we will have a major revision to our sustainability reporting, actually to include things like unified climate change, regulatory impairment, human rights, and so on.
So you just mentioned that it involves people, planet, and environment, right? So apart from that, right, what's your main KPIs that you start looking at?
Our main KPIs was we just started to look at our electricity, purchase electricity, diesel, and then a lot more on the CSR work. And one of the major KPI that we did was, during our construction, we actually put in a lot of sustainability practices when we built our plant. For example, we actually monitored the number of local procurement suppliers that we must have at least 75 or 80% local content within our construction materials. So, and that has to be within like 50 kilometers from our project site. We managed to successfully did that. I think it was reported in my 2018 sustainability report. And so we started looking in terms of our energy intensity ratio, comparing it to our production, and we have successfully did that as well. So for the first two years, we did not have really a fixed KPI, because a lot of things were still in the drafting stage, and a lot of things were still in the data collecting stage. But in our 3rd year of sustainability reporting, we started having a more rigid approach, because everybody is already familiar with the data collection. Everybody is familiar with how we need to go about it, what we need to do about it. You need to understand it will take at least 2 to 3 years for a company who has no knowledge in sustainability to start working on, and especially to train the ground level, to train even the foreign workers. We had to start providing them with training on sustainability as well. For example, switching off electricity when you're not using it, throwing your waste or recycle your waste, and things like that. So the fruit of the sustainability is finally bearing fruit after 3 years.
Right. So moving forward, would you be making any changes to the way how you report your sustainability, like in giving out more quantifiable figures?
Yes.
It's easier to do
this year.
Reasons.
This year, you will see that our report is very targeted approach. We will be reporting more on the GRI reporting standards. We will be having, we will be taking data from the last 2 years and putting into what is achievable, what is not achievable, whether how far have we achieved the progress. So in this year's reporting, you'll see a lot of our reporting is more on the benchmark that we have set 2 years ago and what is the what have we achieved so far. And moving from that, we'll be looking in terms of addressing issues like Unify, as I mentioned earlier, the war on plastics. We'll be looking in terms of our employees. For example, I'm proud to say that even our foreign workers' wages is above industry standards. Supervisory levels, they are already getting almost 3,000 to 4,000 a month. All right, they have been accorded fair 14 days of annual leave, and so on. Before that, the workers were given a chance to go back to home. And today, for example, recently we have a worker who is diagnosed with a stomach cancer in a hospital, and the management has decided to bear the full medical costs for this Vietnamese lady. And all these things is part of our compliance as we go further. We have improved our safety trainings. Many years ago, we used to have like 3 or 4 trainings in a year, but right now you are talking about more than 20 trainings a year for all levels of staff, irregardless of nationality, position, or even at management level. And we have actually 4 safety officers, 2 safety officers in our company. So we are making progress as we move, and as we understand sustainability better, we are making progress.
All right. Since you brought up the topic of foreign workers, right? So I'm sure you're well aware that ever since this COVID started, the glove sector and the plantation sector was having a lot of labor issues. So
Yes.
has there been any main issues in SCGM that you wish to share, and then how did you go about mitigating it?
Well, first and foremost, as I mentioned in my slides earlier, 5 years ago, we already started addressing the issue way before this top glove and plantation issues. Reason being is because we have already got a policy that all workers are treated equal, irregardless of nationality, race, creed, religion, and what they call that, whether whoever you are. For information, we also have an in-house policy on LGBT as well. All right, where we do hire LGBTs part of our workforce, but we don't make it public because Malaysia is still a taboo matter. I mean, taboo thing, but it's very normal in overseas. So we started. If you look at our workers' quarters, which I shown you in my earlier pictures, they are staying currently 2 to a room. They have been given freedoms to do whatever they want. Passport is being kept by them, and can be if they wanted to keep, they have to sign a release letter, and we keep them, and they can get it from 9 to 5 from our HR department. All right.
Scan as well. Scan. People coming. Then I go scan for.
1 minute, sir. Yeah. So, we have drafted policies that there's no ill treatment of foreign workers. They work according to the normal overtime pay as per the local worker. But the challenges that we face in this, that sometimes when we have foreign workers being the leader, the local workers will not want to work because they are not able to accept the foreign workers being the leader in the company. So this is the problem that sometimes that one face in the industry. Unlike industries like banks or capital markets or expert trades where the perception is always different. So sometimes we have to deal with perception issues where local operators are not able to take instruction from foreign operators. So, but we managed to overcome that, and we'll tell the local workers, if you want, perform better than them. If you're not able to perform better than them, then don't complain, because your wages are the same. There's no two rates or different rates at all.
So what's the percentage of your workers who are foreigners, and how is this affecting your production currently? Are you guys working at full capacity?
No, of course not. We are only working at 60% capacity. So currently our ratio is 60-40, 60% foreign, 40% local. All right. But that's about to change in about 2 years' time, and we're going to go to 70-30, 70 local, 30 foreign. Reason being is because we are actually moving a lot of our operations towards automation. So you see, foreign workers are used mainly in very, very low skilled, what do you call that? It doesn't require a lot of, I would say, jobs that's not require a lot of thinking. All right, it's just hand movement, putting things in the bag. But as we move along towards automation, we are going to start reducing the number of foreign workers. But instead of laying off them or sending them back, we will train them to handle those machines. Therefore, we will actually send them for training, increase their competency level to a higher level. Of course, if local workers will want to learn, we also do the same. But the problem here is that sometimes we are not able to get the right workers for the right job.
All right, David. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, David. Thank you.
No
Will there
problem.
be any final questions from anybody for David?
Hi, David. Hi, this is Marie here from Kenanga.
Hi.
I'd just like to check. So regarding your end of life use for plastics, right? So you mentioned like it cannot be recycled forever. So there will be secondary reprocessing, right? For used products. Maybe you can tell us what kind of products do you guys reprocess it to for secondary reprocessing, and then also there's one part where you mentioned earlier that you have recycled 100% of your waste back to production. Maybe if you can just elaborate a bit on that.
Okay. Okay. First, let me talk about the end of life. Now, let me ask you a very simple question. When you take those plastic bags from supermarkets, if you do, all right, often you use that as a garbage bag at the end of the day, right? So how often do you use that as a garbage bag? Number one. Then when you throw it, where does it go to? It will go to the landfill. Now, what happens if I could use the bag and repurpose it into something else? So, for example, we are working with the New Zealand Nottingham to repurpose plastic bags, trays, packaging trays, and so on into construction materials. Something that can be used, for example, road pavement, bicycle pavement, and of course, retaining walls, things that's non-consumable. You wouldn't want to have your trays be recycled and be used back in the food packaging industry.
Yeah, certainly. Yep.
Yeah, right?
Yep.
So, but you can use in other forms of industry. That's what I meant by repurposing it into things like buy blocks, into construction materials, into many more other things that can be used. All right.
So you guys are actively doing this. You're doing secondary reprocessing, or no? This is
No.
Mm.
We have to understand that at present moment, because the Malaysian recycling process is not uniform.
Yeah.
So we have to find our way on how to maneuver this model into getting those ways to do it. And we are actually talking to a few local councils to see whether the project can be successful. And back, the second question on our recycle, yes, all our waste currently is being recycled, 100% of it. We do not throw any of our waste. It goes back to our production line.
This is your production waste specifically, right?
Yes, production waste, not external waste.
Okay, all right, thanks. And just one final question from me. Just want to clarify. So you have biodegradable and degradable. These are two different products, I'm guessing.
Yes, that's right.
So just to check, your degradable, earlier you mentioned to Jim that it makes up 0.5% of revenue, right? Degradable, it's the raw material is still resin, am I right?
No, it's not.
Oh, it's not. Okay.
Okay, sorry. Degradable, the raw materials, yes, you are right. It is still resin, but we actually put in an additive to make the compound, to break down the molecule of the
The
polymer.
oxium, is it?
Yes, the oxium material. All right.
All right. All right. So just when this degrades, this is not. I mean, obviously, biodegradable would be the preferential item compared to degradable.
That's right. But of course, whether is the world ready for it,
Yeah.
is still a big question.
Yeah, like you said, the demand is still not there.
Yes, and it's pretty expensive.
How
And
about degradable? How much more expensive is it compared to your normal product? Did you say 5%? Was it
yeah, about 5%.
5%? All right.
But then again, it's it takes a lot of work and understanding and education to promote the concept of degradable products to people.
Yep, that's right. One final one, sorry, David.
Yep.
Are there any quantitative targets that you guys have at this juncture? I understand if it's too soon, but just for your environmental side, any quantitative targets?
Well, we are actually taking a two approach. The first approach is that we are going to repurpose our waste into something, as I mentioned earlier, like construction materials and so on. The second approach is actually to promote the degradable products. But then again, the second approach is, of course, is more achievable. And we hope that we can actually move up to at least 1% of revenue domestically as well as internationally. But having said so, it takes a lot of work because it took us, I will say, 3 years already to promote our degradable products, but the acceptance market is still pretty low. And there's a lot of hesitation, and it all comes down to pricing. Even though we try to match with the local prices, people are still hesitant to use the product. So it is something that is not, but of course, Indonesia is a whole different market altogether. Indonesia, because they have been using this product for many, many years. So the acceptance of oxium in Indonesia is widely spread. And we are actually trying to understand and study how Indonesia does it. Yeah.
Thank you. Sorry, just to clarify, I was the quantitative targets I was asking was just regarding your environmental, like for example, emissions and neutrality.
Well, okay.
Is there any number to that point?
Of course, yes, of course. When we look in terms of our scope 1 and scope 2, we plan to have the intensity reduced by about 5% per year. In terms of water usage and so on, we will try to reduce that by at least 5%, because we are actually our whole entire new plant actually designed for rainwater harvesting. So a lot of our water is actually been reduced, and we plan to set the target. But as you know, the bigger you are, the bigger plant you are, the higher the consumption. So we do not really use those absolute numbers, but we use the intensity numbers against our production numbers. And I'm proud to say that our intensity ratio has gone down, even though our production has increased. Now, other thing we look at, of course, will be our focus is on human rights. Our focus is also going to be on corporate governance. We are trying to improve our corporate governance further. We have already set up things like RMCs, ABAC compliance units, and so on. But we are actually moving deeper and into our corporate governance by, I would say, being more transparent in our work. All right. Of course, things like policies on remuneration policies and so on will be made available on our website soon. I'm talking about numbers, not just policies, about how we actually remunerate appointed directors and so on. And of course, we are also looking in terms into understanding the challenges that we face. As I mentioned earlier, what are the challenges that we face, to sustain our business in the future? Yeah, does that answer your question, Maria?
Yep. Thanks so much, David. Thanks for everything.
Hey, David, just a couple of follow-up questions from me.
No worries.
Since there is greater acceptance of biodegradable products from your foreign customers, have you guys thought about perhaps marketing more aggressively to them, and therefore eventually having a greater portion of your revenue from foreign markets, because they seem to be more acceptable of such products and they are willing to pay the higher price for it?
Yes, we have already been doing that since two years ago, but our major obstacle is obtaining the raw materials. So unless we can come up with our own raw materials, we are able to produce and deliver to the customers. One of the world's largest plastic packaging distributor in US called Pactive, they wanted us to supply biodegradable trays and cups to them in extremely huge volume. But we were not able to do their business because we were not able to obtain the raw materials, even from NatureWorks, because NatureWorks raw materials has a 2 years or even a 1 year booking order. So, and we didn't dare to take the risk as well. So
these cornstarch resins, you're only obtaining them from NatureWorks at the moment? Or?
Yes, that's right. Because they are currently the biggest. Currently, their products can be used on our machine. It complements our machine without any additional capex.
So there are no other suppliers that supply that at the moment?
No, because NatureWorks produces the resins themselves.
So it's patented?
Correct, it's patented technology. And there's some, we're trying to buy from, when we got queries from the US, we actually asked from France, from China, and so on. But it's not as easy as we thought. So I spent months looking for a supplier, but we are not able to get one that is that was able to match the quality and the specification by nature works.
So are there other alternative suppliers that are out there but don't fit your machines and therefore may incur higher capex?
Yes, that's right.
So have you guys considered those, or are you just not really willing to invest the additional capex for that yet?
Not for now, because looking at the current market condition and current market environment, the machine investment for biodegradable is something that we need to consider it very carefully, because we do not know when we will get such orders. And to invest a machine, it requires millions of dollars. So the ROI is going to be, it's really pathetic.
Okay. And these alternative resins, how much more do they cost compared to the traditional petrochemical resins?
300%.
So your selling prices is rising 300% in accordance with the higher resin costs.
For the same product, okay, I sell my current cup at a price about 10 cents on the average. All right. And I need to sell the cup that makes for PLA as high as 3 times more. So you're talking about 30 cents to 60 cents, 50 cents more compared to the normal price.
I see. So with these biodegradable products, just trying to understand the margins for those. So they would more or less be the same as they are as your products now.
No, the margins are definitely better for biodegradable products, but it's just that you don't have the demand. And
so the margins are better because you would then raise your selling prices higher than your raw material costs. Okay.
Of course, yes, definitely, because this is something that everybody wants, and there's a short and a simple supply and demand theory.
Okay, understood. All right, thanks.
Yep, no problem.
Hi, David. Jiahui
Hi.
here. Hi. I would like to ask, what's the impact on your operation due to this lockdown?
Well, I'm having the best of both worlds, and I'm also crying at the same time, because this lockdown has increased my order tremendously, but with the 60% capacity, I'm not able to deliver my products. So I can see the orders, but I cannot deliver because due to 60% capacity. And definitely our revenue will show some slight decline. I'm not sure what's the impact. We are not really as certain what's the impact at the present moment, but definitely they will show some revenue decline because our operating now is at on a 60% workforce.
Okay. Does the demands come from like PPE and food and beverages? Both?
Both.
The demand comes from PPE. Our orders are like face mask is currently is beyond our machine capacity. All right. Food and beverage as well is currently beyond our machine capacity. So, but as I said, no manpower, reduction in manpower, so we are not able to supply. So orders have to be on hold or delayed or postponed.
So is there any drop off orders? No.
I mean, they can go to someone else, but everyone else is facing the same problem.
True as well.
Right. So, but just for everybody's information, SCGM has already anticipated this lockdown almost a month ago. All right, and because of that, for our supply chain sustainability, we actually purchase our raw materials and everything else way up to September. So the impact on our supply chain is actually almost it's very minimum. Because we took a lot of lessons learned from the first MCO and where our supply chain was largely affected. Of course, that was a temporary setback, but we managed to learn from that. And the good thing about it is that during our first MCO, we actually activated our backup office in which our workers, a designated group of workers were assigned to a separate offsite to continue to work, to issue invoices, handle the deliveries and so on. So we took that as a learning lesson, and our emergency response team was very well aware. So for this round, this lockdown, we didn't activate the emergency response of the offsite office. But then again, it actually gave us a lot of valuable lessons how we manage our supply chain and so on.
Okay. I remember you guys said that you have an expansion on food and beverages segment. How about PPE side?
PPE, we are not going to expand anymore. Even though we foresee that the use of face masks is going to be there for a long time, at least for the next 3 to 5 years down the road. But then again, face mask capex is very, very cheap. I mean, machine is only about $30,000 US, and we already covered back most of our machines outright back several months ago. So we will not continue to invest in PPE, but we will focus right now more on automation of our food and beverage sector. As you saw, those machines that we purchased, those are the machines that's coming in. Our focus right now is to relook at how we can use technology to further improve our manufacturing process by adopting technologies, using data analytical analysis. And of course, our main problem now is the transition of the existing board members within the next 3 years. Yep.
Okay, I see that. Sorry, Java, do you have anything else?
You can go on.
May has a question to ask.
Hi, May. Hi, May.
May, you can unmute yourself. Sorry, Eliza, could you please try to unmute me? I can't seem to do so.
Hi. Okay. Hi,
Hi.
David. Morning. Just wanted to clarify, you mentioned that you have raw material supplies all the way till September. Just wondering, because prices are coming off, right? Would you still be able to benefit from the lower pricing, or you were just locking in quantities? Thank you.
We are still able to benefit from the lower price, definitely. Because when I talk about raw materials, there are many other sectors that we focus on. Things, for example, like corrugated carton boxes, packaging materials, and so on. But raw materials, this is something that's inevitable. Because we wouldn't know, yes, even though the raw material prices are coming down, but business going concern is still a priority for us, because we still need to deliver our goods to customer irregardless whatever the price are. Because reason being is that a bit, yes, we may have a compression of our margin because of the higher raw material prices, but then it's much better than losing our customers. So and because due to this uncertain dynamics of the current pandemic, we didn't dare to take the risk. That's why we book our orders all the way up to August or September.
Are you able to share what kind of average pricing?
Currently the price is down by about
Now straight.
Downstream, now it's on the downstream already.
More than 10%.
More than 10%.
Okay, thank you.
But we are still maintaining our selling price.
Is there any pressure to pass back on those, in a way, downtrend in resin prices?
In a way, we have people asking us to reduce the price, but we told them we will reduce and on a case-to-case basis. Not
so far, you haven't reduced any yet?
Not really, not yet.
Okay, thank you.
All right, are there any last questions for David? Right, I think it's time we call this session to a close. Thank you so much, David and Dato Sri, for sharing with us so much insights into what's going on in SCGM. We are actually it's good to hear the kind of efforts that you've been putting into sustainability management, and I wish you very well as you continue on this journey. Certainly, you've made a very convincing case that you are sustainability aware and doing the right things, and I think it's safe to say that your position as a component of the FBM for good is very safe, I think. And we look forward to seeing more of ESG advancements on your end. So with that, on behalf of all of us here, I'd like to thank you so much. We look forward to talking to you again.
Yes,
thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, David. Thank you,
Yeah.
Dr. Sri.
Thanks, David.